it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Thursday, December 15th. So today we have the moon in Virgo all day. So Mercury rules over Virgo energy, and heads up, Mercury is kind of trying to steal the spotlight here today. There are 10 different aspects here today. 7 of them involve the moon. The other aspects involve Mercury. So what does this mean for us? It means that there's a lot of pressure on the mental plane. There's a lot of processing. There's a lot of new information and details to sort through. There is likely going to be new information and details coming at us through communication. And let me just say that communication and conversation will not be our strongest points. Of course, this Virgo energy is the problem solver, and we are looking to sort through the primary root cause of some of our issues right now in order to get down to the nitty-gritty on what it is that we actually have to sort out and process so that we can bring things full circle, again, under the last quarter moon in Virgo, and prepare to start fresh. So Mercury actually gets in the boxing ring with Chiron. First thing right out of the gate. So Chiron is the wounded healer, and of course is here to show us the wounds that we're here to heal in this lifetime, but also giving us the wisdom, the knowledge, the resources in order to actually heal said wounds. Mercury is in Capricorn energy, so we are just kind of focused on the bare necessities, on what is important. And having this particular energy kind of trigger and activate different thoughts in our heads, likely not the nicest ones, different narratives in our heads, likely not so positive. We are thinking long term, but we are also realizing where in the here and now we feel blocked in being able to project ourselves into the future, be able to provide ourselves with a framework, with a strategy to actually move on and actually move forward. Communication is not going to be good, even in our inner realm. We're not speaking to ourselves very nicely. Our heart and our head is not in alignment. Our ego self, our intuition is not in alignment. We're going to have a hard time tapping into our higher selves. This is definitely going to put us at odds within ourselves and put us at odds within our personal relationships. So be very cautiously aware of where it is that you're being triggered and activated, and allow yourself to sit with that and really do a deep dive in your mental plane, in your psyche, on why these triggers and activations are making you feel this particular way. Again, square is a tension point. It's a conflict point, but it is needed in order for us to be illuminated, to be aware of what it is within us that still needs a little bit of attention, love, and healing. The moon, very shortly after, goes ahead and bumps into Chiron in not the nicest way. This would suggest that there are situations taking place out in the external realm that we do not have control over. That's definitely putting us in a situation to be emotionally triggered. In order for us to analyze, to do a deep dive into where these triggers and activations are trying to show us a deep-seated root primary cause issue. This will likely take us back to our childhood, likely take us back to an element in which we were conditioned under. Again, keep in mind that our main goal right now is to unlearn everything that we were taught in order for us to think for ourselves. However, thinking is not going to be our best or strongest quality here because Mercury, like I said, is kind of muffled out, getting emotionally triggered and activated throughout the day, and really putting us in some very difficult situations to be able to articulate our thoughts and our feelings very clearly, especially when trying to communicate with other people. The moon makes an interaction with Pluto, the great transformer. It's not the best one. It's kind of an awkward one. And let me just say that, again, Pluto and the Virgo energy that the moon is in have a lot in common. They both deal with the psyche. They both want to get down to the nitty-gritty. They both want to understand the psychology that is basically operating our ego selves. And so this can feel very intense. We can be fixated on a certain topic. We can become obsessed us with trying to find the right answers to some of the questions that we have, we are doing a very, very deep dive inside of our emotions, inside of our thoughts, and all of this is being triggered and activated by certain situations coming at us in the outside world. Now, Pluto wants to transform us, turn that pain into power, turn that darkness into light, and with the help of the moon being in Virgo energy, we are going to sort some things out, put some things in their rightful spot in our inner realm, and really kind of understand why it is that certain situations, certain people, certain information and details are coming at us at this time in order for us to analyze them right to death, understand where it is that within ourselves we have a little bit of perspective changing to do in order for us to have a total shift of emotion and understanding. So this is when the moon goes ahead and trines, which is a beautiful energy, with Mercury. And this would suggest that we're making some headway. Yes, it was a very difficult, very triggering, very activating type of situation up until this point in time. But whatever cluster F we've been sitting in, suddenly something makes sense. Suddenly there's an alignment between our heart and our head. Suddenly we hit that aha moment. We've shifted our perspective. We've shifted the understanding. And I'm going to say that mostly this is going to be confined to our inner realm, so our heart and our head. Of course, being on the same page means that we're able to kind of get on the same page within ourselves. I don't know that that's going to convey as well with the conversations, the communication styles with other people. However, if you're presented with the opportunity to have these types of conversations and communications, definitely have them. But be very cautiously aware that we are under an influence of being very defensive, very edgy, and over analytical. So we might jump to conclusions, we might make assumptions that just aren't fair to the situation, and the whole conversation might take a direction that nobody really wants it to go in. So we have to be cautiously aware of that. So the moon goes ahead and trines the true node. And this is a very interesting aspect because it does suggest that we're making some headway. We're understanding where it is that we have to grow, where it is we have to improve, where it is that we're being encouraged to move forward. Again, sometimes when we sit in a cluster F of thoughts and emotions, that provides us a lot of clarity. Sometimes we have to sit in that confusion in order to find that clarity. Sometimes we have to have a breakdown of our emotions and our mental narrative in order to have that breakthrough. That true node is just trying to get us on the right path, trying to open up our minds to where it is that we have to move forward. And it does kind of suggest that from the earlier aspects, we are making some very good headway. The moon goes ahead and enters into the boxing ring, squares with Mars. Now, let me just say, just when we thought we were getting ourselves together, this is likely going to add a little bit of fuel to the fire. Reason being, Mars, again, ruling over our physical energy, our passions, our desires, even our anger. He's retrograde in Gemini energy. This is a lot of internalized energy, a lot of agitation, a lot of frustration coming up. And emotionally speaking, we are feeling that agitation and frustration because the process of moving forward and moving on is so freaking slow. That can definitely set us off, and we can find ourselves be very, very fueled up, very riled up, very temperamental if we're not careful. And we're really struggling right now to figure out what is the best path, what is the best decision, choice for us to make. And again, there's not a whole lot of clarity. So we're getting a little bit frustrated and aggravated. And, we don't feel like we're understanding ourselves. We don't understand the hints, the clues coming at us from the cosmos. And we're just having a hard time processing things, especially emotionally. And where the moon is in Virgo, we're more reliant on intellectually trying to process our feelings, which of course doesn't work a whole lot. And this Mars energy is just kind of adding an intense layer of, I'm going to say, anger and agitation to our emotional realm to figure things out. That is the pressure. Let's figure things out. Let's come up with a plan. Let's move on. Now, Mercury goes ahead, trines the true node. This is a beautiful, beautiful aspect. It means that there's information coming in There's communications, there's details emerging, whether it's in our own mental plane or being activated through conversations with other people, something happening in the exterior realm that we don't have control over. Something is happening in order to illuminate where it is that, yes, we are definitely being prepared for a brand new chapter. Yes, we have a different perception, a different understanding of why we went through some of the hardships. Yes, we understand now where it is that we have to push ourselves through this awkward state of adjustment in order for us to move on and move forward. Again, we are thinking long term, but we are bringing ourselves back to the present moment to say, hey, what can I do here, right now? What do I have control over right now to either tie up loose ends of the past or start initiating the new direction, the new path, the new ideas that I'm having for the future? Now, the moon goes ahead, trines Uranus. This is a beautiful energy for a couple of reasons. First of all, Uranus gives us that shift, gives us that change, gives us that transformation. It is an aha moment, an epiphany. It is something that we can't unknow. And it is opening us up to realizing where it is that we've been too attached, too fixated on certain people, certain titles, certain things in our physical realm that essentially we're realizing now we're the blockage. We're the one preventing ourselves from actually moving on. We're the one stunting our own growth. And having this aha moment, because again, the moon in Virgo is very analytical, like we are just picking things apart and analyzing things right to death. We just had a huge epiphany that will forever change our understanding and perception of our inner realm, where it is that we ourselves have been our greatest enemy and stunting our growth and our progress. The moon goes ahead, bumps into Saturn in not the nicest way. This would suggest that we are getting a little bit of pressure from the outside world on where it is that our roles and responsibilities, our commitments and our obligations are really pressuring us right now and kind of sucking the life out of us. Many of us trying to have some fun, trying to lighten the mood, trying to keep things light and fluffy and playful. But my goodness, when the outside world comes a knocking and reminding us of all the to-do lists that we got going on, kind of sucks the fun out of it all. So emotionally speaking, we may feel the pressure, we may feel the weight, we may feel a little bit of that negative Nancy narrative coming in because we're kind of hard on ourselves with this particular aspect between the moon and Saturn. But, you know, sometimes we have to be a little bit of the tough love life lesson to ourselves, to get ourselves situated, to get ourselves focused, to get ourselves in a position where we can wrap up these roles and responsibilities, fulfill our obligations and commitments, and then get on with all of the fun stuff. Lastly, we have Mercury and Mars making a very uncomfortable aspect with one another. And let me just say that this is going to trigger the aggravation. If we didn't feel it earlier in the day, we're definitely going to feel it now. It feels like we are misunderstanding ourselves in a lot of ways. It feels like we're being misunderstood by other people. If you did take the opportunity earlier in the day to communicate and things didn't go so well, this is likely the primary root cause of these after emotions, after effects. It just doesn't feel like we are conveying our message properly. It doesn't feel like we are going fast enough. It doesn't feel like we're able to kind of have an easy line of communication with those that we really want to have these heart-to-hearts with. And the problem is that Mercury and Mars, there's a little bit of a conflict here where listening isn't our strongest suit. We would rather be speaking than listening. And of course, you know, communications, especially heart-to-hearts, they need that two-way street. And we're just not giving ourselves the time, the energy, the space to be articulate with our words. We're not really emoting the kind of emotions that we need to for these conversations, because of course, Mercury being in Capricorn is a little bit cold and rigid. And it just feels like we are impatient. We are not allowing other people to speak their truth fully. We're kind of like cutting them off and interrupting and putting our 2 cents in. And we're having the same things happen to us as well. This can be very, very frustrating. And what I would say is that there is this intensity there is this pressure that we may feel to, to make a decision, to align with a choice, to just commit to something and get it over with. And we really shouldn't be doing that right now. Our impatience and our lack of listening and our lack of understanding is not putting us in a good situation to be totally informed the way that we need to in order to make some of the very important decisions that we currently have on our plate to make. And again, just keep in mind that the tension at this point in the lunar cycle is needed because we are building towards that last quarter moon in Virgo energy. And that is kind of the, I'm going to say, turning point, if you will, of some of these energies.